Hey, what's up everyone? Today, let's go over the best loadout for the Illuminate. I'll show you which weapons are effective and least effective on the harvesters and warp ships. Not only that, I'm going to show you how to easily defeat the overseers, and there's so much more I'll be going over in today's video. If you would like to support the channel, please hit the like button below by tapping the thumbs up button at any point, subscribe, and turn on notifications. What I'm going to do first is show you my personal loadout that I've been using as of late, starting off with my loadout called the Explosive Calamari. I highly suggest you use an armor type with the Fortified passive and the crossbow as your primary. You can 2-tap overseers, whether it's the jetpack type or the squids with the staffs. Either one you can 2-tap, and this weapon is great for crowd control in general. You can also tell that I'm using the guard dog. This specific drone can quickly defeat overseers and take down the Voteless enemies as well. The Fortified is a great passive to choose. It will save you from accidentally blowing yourself up when shooting the Illuminates up close. The crossbow, as I've mentioned, is great for crowd control. You can take out multiple enemies with one shot or more. It can be a very useful tool. Now you might be wondering at this point, what secondary am I using? Well, I'm using the P19 Redeemer for a specific reason. Not just to take out the Voteless or the Overseers, it's actually quite useful when you need to lower down the warp ship shields. For instance, you'll see right here, I can easily remove the shields, then pop out my crossbow to shoot inside the bluish doorway to blow up the entire ship without an issue. Not only that, as I've mentioned, it's a great secondary to use when you need to clear out multiple enemies, like the Voteless for example. However, let's say I run out of ammo in doing so. How will I then lower down the shields on the ships? We have stratagems that we can use. I have the strafe run for crowd control and defeating other types of Illuminate, as well as lowering down the shields on the ships. What I prefer to do is to kill two birds with one stone. What I mean by that is I like to take out the enemies while depleting the shields on the ships. Now, once the shields are down, I can then, of course, again swap to the crossbow to blow up the warp ship. The third stratagem I have in my loadout is the Gatling Barrage. That essentially has the same purpose as the strafe run. I mainly use it for hordes of squids and to also lower down any type of shields, whether it's the ships or the harvester. Speaking of a harvester, this loadout can also take down a harvester without any problems. Now, you do have your options here. I'll go over a few eventually when we talk about the most effective and least effective weapons you can use on the harvesters and the ships. Anyway, I'm using the Quasar Cannon. Sure, I could use something like the recoilless rifle, but the reason why I'm not is mainly due to the fact I have the guard dog attached. If I didn't, then the recoilless rifle would be a great option to choose from. Nonetheless, we want to use the Quasar Cannon to target the upper sections where the legs are attached to the main part of the body. In doing so, you can actually one-tap the harvester by simply targeting this specific spot. It's actually the weakest part on the harvester if you didn't know already. You can also use a thermite grenade, although sometimes that will require some additional damage either beforehand or after the thermite has exploded. Overall, the Quasar Cannon can be a great choice. The only negative is that you have to wait for the Quasar Cannon to charge up before it can be shot. If you're surrounded by multiple enemies, then you might end up dying if you're not too careful. Also, there's a possibility that the harvester's shields will regenerate if you're not fast enough pulling out the cannon after disabling the shields. With that said, it's the only negative part about this specific loadout, although you do have your options to swap that out with a heavy machine gun or the MG43 machine gun. Either one can be used to pop the legs off of the harvester, which later on in this video I'll show you which weapons are the best to use when fighting a harvester. So, quick recap, you can 2-shot 2 different overseer types. The guard dog can help defeat them as well. The harvesters can be 1-shot, plus you have a way of blowing up warp ships and lowering shields. Overall, this loadout will save you and your teammates from being wiped by the Illuminate. Okay, moving along, I'm now going to show you the most effective and least effective weapons on the Harvester. This way you'll know which weapons to avoid using. Let's start off with the most effective support stratagems. Both the Emancipator and Patriot exosuits are powerful enough to not only blow up ships, but you can also use them to blow up the harvesters without a problem. With the Emancipator, you'll want to aim for the legs, like I've mentioned prior, and shoot directly at it with the rockets. It doesn't take much to do so. On the other hand, if you're using the Patriot exosuit, then I recommend you lower down the shields first with the minigun, and after you have done so, aim for the legs and start shooting away. Next up, we have the machine gun stratagems. There are only 2 that are worth using on this specific Illuminate type. The heavy machine gun is surprisingly good, as you can see in this clip. I do suggest that you lower it down to the lowest RPM, that way you can aim and shoot better with it, especially since we're targeting the legs. The second stratagem is the MG43 machine gun. I also suggest you set this stratagem at the lowest RPM, it will help out immensely when it comes down to the recoil. So within a few seconds, the leg will pop right off, and it's finished. If you're wondering about the other machine gun type, then I wouldn't suggest using the Stalwart on this specific Illuminate, since the Stalwart has a light armor penetration. Moving away from the machine guns, we're now going to talk about the rocket stratagems. For instance, the recoilless rifle is a hell of a weapon to use on the Harvester. If you can line up your shots just right, like this for example, you can one-shot it without an issue. However, if you miss, there's a negative, because of course, you'll have to find a safe spot to reload your recoilless. Other than that, it's a pretty solid choice. The second stratagem I recommend is the EATS, or better known as the EATS 17 Expendable Anti-Tank Stratagem. The same tactic applies here, just line up your shot and shoot it exactly right here. You can also aim for the left or right side, it doesn't really matter, but just like that, it's a simple way to defeat a Harvester. Now the other option is the Commando. It's another helpful stratagem, as you could tell in this clip, it's another solid choice. Lastly, for support stratagems, the anti-tank emplacement can one-shot it, just aim correctly and pull the trigger, and just like that, it's done for. Also, I forgot to mention two other stratagems that can be good, such as the anti-material rifle, but you'll want to make sure your shots are more precise than mine are, because mine are just all over the place. The other one is the laser cannon. It's also not a bad choice, but it does require that you continuously apply damage to the legs. So we just went over support stratagems. Let's see which offensive stratagems are worth using. Some of these might not come as a surprise by any means, but for the purpose of the video, I'm going to show them nonetheless. The first one is going to be the 500 kg bomb. Although if you're not careful, the Harvester can actually block the damage. For instance, in this clip right here, it popped its shield right as it came down. What I recommend is to lower down the shields first, then throw down the 500 kg bomb. However, if you're not fast enough, there's a good chance the shield could come back up. Overall, it can one-tap it. The other option is to use an orbital precision strike, but that's also sort of has a disadvantage. Unlike the 500 kg bomb, the orbital precision strike does not have a large blast radius, meaning you'll have to be somewhat dead center on the Illuminate in order to blow it up. Speaking of precision, you won't have to be precise when using the next stratagem, which is the rail cannon. You just throw it down and let it do all the work. It can also one-tap. Alrighty, we talked about the best support and offensive stratagems, at least in my opinion, to use on this particular squid. Now, what about the least effective support weapons to use? Well, there's the Stalwart. As I've mentioned earlier, this isn't a good choice to use on the Harvester, although it is a good weapon to use on the other Illuminate types. The autocannon as well is not a great choice. You can see it takes multiple shots before you can down it. The same goes for the railgun, it takes quite a few shots, so I wouldn't suggest using this one either. Not only that, but the spear is also a bad choice. It doesn't do too much damage on the Harvester, nor is it a great choice to use on the warp ships. The next one is not going to be a surprise by any means, but the flamethrower is absolutely a terrible choice since you'll have to get decently close, and by that time you'll receive arc damage from the Harvester, and it's a one-tap by the way. Okay, with the support stratagems to the side, we have the offensive stratagems that are not so good either, such as the Eagle airstrike, which practically does nothing. It does damage to a certain extent, however it's not enough to one-shot the Harvester, as well as the rocket pods don't do much. The airburst strike is pretty much ineffective, and I didn't see any sort of major damage inflicted. Now I won't bother showing some of the other stratagems like the napalm airstrike. It's practically useless, it's not that effective either, but yeah, stratagems like that I won't show, but for the ones that I assumed would be good, obviously didn't turn out too good, but yeah, there you go guys. We're now going to talk about the warp ships. So warp ships, you can practically use any type of offensive stratagem, but I highly recommend that you just use something that's explosive. You can use grenades, you can use a crossbow, you can use the recoilless rifle, you can use all sorts of different explosive weapons. It really doesn't matter. You just want to lower down the shields with some sort of weapon. Either that's the sickle, maybe you want to use the P19 Redeemer, you can also use the scythe. I mean, there's a lot of different options, right? So just lower it down and then use any sort of explosive weapon of your choice. What I enjoy using the most is the Emancipator or the Patriot Exosuit, because you can actually just lower down the shields with the minigun and then you can just blow it up and then move on to the next. Now it's time to go over your suggested loadouts. If you guys have already posted a comment before and it wasn't selected, then go ahead and post one down below in this video. With that said, I would like to see some more suggested loadouts based around the Urban Legends War Bond if you guys can, but if not, go ahead and post your personal loadout anyways. The suggested loadout we have today is by GeorgeGeo8ZT that posted this certified exterminator loadout. Starting off with the primary, which is good for a certain amount of bugs. It's not good for the hive guards because, you know, they have a lot of armor. Then for the secondary, we got the spear, which is really good for stunning enemies. As for grenades, we have the gas grenade for confusing and also inflicting damage over time. These stratagems are going to be the sterilizer that also does the same exact thing as the gas grenade. We've got directional shield, which is a really nice stratagem as of late. And the gas strike is on top of this loadout here because, you know, we're going to also confuse enemies more, inflict damage and all that. And lastly, the anti-tank emplacement is just phenomenal against, you know, all sorts of bugs and enemies. And it really is. It truly is. You can take out several different chargers, as you can see right here. And we can also take out the bile titan. It's pretty good. And you said any armor passive, but I used the gas passive, so yeah. So overall, not a bad loadout. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 general brash stars. I don't really think it's that effective, but I do appreciate you submitting this loadout in the comments nonetheless. With all the information being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. We are now going to go over the top 3 comments. If you guys would like to be featured at the end of the video, all you have to do is simply comment down below, and if you get enough upvotes, I might just feature it. The first top comment is from Tiny545. Pretty sure the towers are invincible. There's these generators next to them, and you just have to destroy the blue things attached to them. 500 kg, probably hit those instead. So this right here, I'm glad you posted this comment. Now, the reason why I was testing out the anti-tank emplacement on the tower was to see if it would blow up and if it wouldn't. And obviously I was wrong, but I should have added more context to the video and whatnot. But yeah, I appreciate you commenting that nonetheless. The second top comment is from Darkness Shadow KGA. Squids are flammable, time to eat. Yes, indeed it is. So you better get your flamethrower ready and just start torching a bunch. The third and final comment is by Alan Aries 1. We need a democracy saber in the next war bond. Yes, we do. And if it does happen, I'm gonna just go nuts about it because it just sounds so cool to have an electric sword. Oh man, we need it so much. Anywho, those are the top 3 comments. I appreciate everyone that stopped by in the last 2 videos. You guys are going absolutely nuts, and I appreciate it just so much, guys. I mean, the support has been overwhelming. Now, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do it now. I know you're not subscribed. It says literally that there's a bunch of people that didn't subscribe, and you need to just click the red button. It's completely free. You're not going to get charged. Nothing's going to happen. But if you guys would like to support the channel a little bit more, you can click the join button down below and become a member. So yeah, thank you guys again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.